Here's my notes from the Old Good Racing Cheltenham preview event that organised on Zoom. People here were racing tipster Ben Merritt, trainers Paul Nicholls and Paul Webber, presenter Francisco Cumani, and the legendary former jockey and presenter Sir Anthony McCoy. Old Gold says already commented on the Gordon Elliott issue, so we're leaving it alone. I think we'll commented to the members. And there was a bit of a joke at the start with Sir A.P. McCoy having some trophies behind him, and he said it was due to some William Hill work he'd been doing, and they'd asked him basically put some trophies behind him so they could see them, and he said it was good for his ego. And the first race at Newbury tomorrow, Paul Webber stated that Lady Vega, the grounded suitor for her first race, and was hopeful for her being in the top 4. Paul Nicholls likes his favourite Sirocco Joe for that race. Sir Anthony McCoy also said that it would be different for the jockeys with no crowds, and was the only course, he says, with a natural walkway after racing and also beforehand. And he says horses will find it different, and it will help some horses and it will not help others. For the Arkle, Ben Merritt said it would be less straightforward for Shiskin when he thought it might be at the start of the season, and be a real test with All Mankind setting the pace. But the pace that All Mankind will set will actually help Shiskin's jumping. Mainly, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the horse at all. Not very good at French names. It's wait, you probably know who the horse is. EUENERGUMENE. Possibly if it's pace in the race, and he thought out that to be his choice. Paul Nicholls thought it would be a 3-horse race, and preferred Shiskin over the French horse. Paul Webber wondered if All Mankind's jumping would hold up at Cheltenham with a strong pace. Tony McCoy said something I actually noticed. My video I did last year after the first day of Cheltenham Festival, he said that Shiskin might lack tactical speed over silver hurdles, but he was actually being faster over fences. As he thought the French horse, he wondered, had been jumping right over the last couple of times. Shiskin he felt would be better on good ground, and he thought Shiskin would win. And Ben Merritt agreed on Shiskin. The Ultimate Handicap Chase. Paul Webber basically just said he expected furious pace to the race. Paul Nicholls said he thought a lot of rain would be expected for next week, and his horse Soldier of Love would not be a runner. Ben Merritt likes Nick Williams' horse One for the Team. Paul Webber agreed about One for the Team. And Tony McCoy said he likes the Kim Bailey horse Happy Go Lucky. Has a good weight and understands why the horse is favourite. Also possibilities for Cocoa Beach and OK Corral, and he'd been unhappy with One for the Team last time out. For the Champion Hurdle, Tony McCoy again had the issues maybe with a ground for Goshen, possibly wouldn't be quick enough for him, and he felt that Honeysuckle may be over Epatante if the ground was slower. He felt Honeysuckle's jumping was good enough, and certainly last time out, and he hadn't been maybe a president beforehand quite so much, and if it's soft, if it's better than soft ground, though he thinks Epatante. Paul Webber wondered if it was too soon for Goshen, trying to get back to form, and he likes the 2 mares, and Honeysuckle was his choice. Ben Merritt felt if it's soft Honeysuckle and ground up horse, she'd been good last time out, and at a point James de Belay was a tip for him. And Tony McCoy gets to saying he wondered if though it was all too soon for James de Belay, and Paul Nicholls, and he said it was Goshen was his choice if it was soft ground, and he thinks it will be soft ground. Mare's Hurdle, Paul Webber Indefatigable, which is his horse he trains, she stayed on so well last time out, and saying that Indefatigable, she was like that in the race she won last year, staying on just to take race at the death, but had not gone as well as he'd liked this year. He'd done her wind, so she should now improve. She likes fast ground and was ratty worried about the possibility of rain. Good to soft would be okay, but soft ground would not help her at all. And Paul Nicholls, Elegante de Soy, is probably a non-runner, and he likes Roxana. The third only mentioned friend of the hurdle was Paul Nicholls. Hoi Gui he fancied it on better ground than heavy. It had been running a bit soft ground. If it's as long as it's not too soft, she should be okay. Hellwood had a breathing operation and a realistic mark if the ground was not too bad. For Ballymore, Paul Nicholls felt Brave Man's game had done nothing wrong. I have to say that's a famous cliche for a proof event. The horse had done nothing wrong, but that was. And Brave Man's Game had won the shallow hurdle. Tony McCoy likes Bob Ollinger for this race, and Bear Grylls at a price. Paul Webber likes Gentleman to Me. Ben Merritt also goes to Bob Ollinger, and Paul Nicholls, Brave Man's Game. It was asked as a question from someone actually on the chat about compared to Denman, who was a good horse, of course a great horse, was actually favourite of this race back in would be 2006, and they got that turned over in fact, and he felt that the Brave's game was speedier than Denman, who got beaten also thing with Ballymore, and so he still thinks Denman game will be okay. With Brown Advisory, used to be called the RSA Chase, all of them seemed to like just about apart from one person was totally strong at Monkfish. Now Ben Merritt then said it was his banker, and then later on when I was giving bankers, they didn't give Monkfish actually, but I think Ben Merritt was a very strong horse. However, Paul Nicholls said his horse Next Destination loves soft ground and won both his races. Tony McCoy felt the horse should really run in the National Challenge Cup over 3 miles 6. And Tony McCoy himself had been impressed with Monkfish's pace for this year, although he did think that Next Destination had chances each way, especially very few runners at 14 to 1. So I think saying we back your horse now, if the race may well cut up. Paul Webber saying that Royal Palagelli would not run here, and it was stated later on what ground dependent where the horse would probably run. That was stated later on. Coral Cup, Ben Merritt like Monte Cristo. Paul Webber, who was third wind, horse trained by Huey Morrison. Tony McCoy like Craig Niche. And Paul Nicholls Sansonnet, he said, had been up and down the fences this year, been really inconsistent, and back of the hurdles, competitive mark, and at a big price. For Champion Chase, Paul Nicholls felt Tatak and Bassois had been very impressive, but had not won at Cheltenham before, and his horse Political, who was won race last year, loved Cheltenham, and he felt Political had a little run out at Wincanton on Tuesday, and was still a horse is still full of enthusiasm. He felt Altior looked slow at Kempton last time out, and may have been better actually than a Chase. And he said they talked to Dan Skelton, of course, used to work for Paul Nicholls, and Dan Skelton saying his best chance at a meeting was Nuba Negra, who ends up winning in this race. Tony McCoy says hard to go against Sac and Passois. He agreed Altior had been lethargic last time out and was better on faster ground. And he felt Nuba Negra could have been flattered last time out because Altior underperforming. Politicog, he said, was solid. He liked Shirley Emery at 25 to 1 with a chance each way. Ben Merritt also liked Political each way. He's not in favour of Altior, but he felt Sac and Passois should win. Paul Webber likes Puller Kettle on each way, but thinks Sac and Passois will win the race as well. For Grand Annual, Ben Merritt likes Philip Hoppe-Zanza, who won at Newbury and fell at Cheltenham 3 out last time out. That's if it's good ground. If it's soft ground, the Tears on horse Eldorado Alan, who was second to Shishkin last time out, he liked that horse. Marsh Norris's Chase of 2.5 miles. Paul Nicholls felt that Every Allen would switch obviously to a new trainer after the issues with Gordon Elliott shouldn't make a difference because of his class, but switching would not help. Certainly it's not an advantage to switch, but he felt that Every Allen was so good it wouldn't really make a difference. Tony McCoy said that even at 11 to 8 on favourite, it's not a bad price. He likes Sporting John each way. Paul Nicholls said his horse Hitman expects to run at Newbury and Aintree and not at Cheltenham. If, however, the ground was too quick at Newbury, then the horse might be redirected here. And Ben Merritt felt that Every Allen hadn't actually beaten much, but keeps winning with ease, and really I don't think could see the horse really being beaten. Attempts hurdle. Paul Nicholls, his two were here with Southfield Harvest and Storm Rising. Southfield Harvest, he said, would like some more rain, and he felt that Storm Rising was a massive price. When Chase, Tony McCoy felt that Alero and Manila Indoor hadn't stayed in the RSA Chase last year, so clearly this might be a better distance for them. And he actually fancied Mellon if ridden aggressively, but he did admit the horse struggles to win at the Cheltenham Festival, keeping coming second. Ben Merritt liked San Calvados for this, with the trainer coming into form, and was worried about Min being pulled up last time out. Paul Webber likes him pulled all for this, with Kim Bailey's horses in great form despite a disappointing Kempton run, and he felt Min's run last time out was inexplicable, and no one's really going to come up with a reason as to what happened. And Jessica Kumani, who didn't say too much, only made a couple of comments herself, liked St. Carlos for this race. Paul Nicholls said his horse Will Steele was in good shape and was a right trip, having won very well in the Gold Cup last year, but not quite stayed. And we was asked, well, would Paul Nicholls like to train Champ? He said he would, but he would actually put him in the Ryanair, not the Gold Cup. Stairs hurdle, Tony McCoy. St. Paisley Park had a heart issue last year and ran well enough on his reappearance, good in the long walk hurdle, and he's not sure how Tyne Hill will beat him. Felt signed a belay with Paul last time out, and he felt this can now Oscar won it racecourse last year, was okay at Haydock last time out, and maybe an each way bet. Paul Webber likes Tyne Hill. Ben Merritt going for Paisley Park, and Kim Bailey's horse Vindication each way, and Kim Bailey apparently is saying quite sweet on him according to other preview events. Triumph Hurdle, Paul Webber saying there's actually some issues with the Gordon Elliott trained horses, of the owners possibly moving after, depending on what would happen with the Irish Regulatory Board, what they will find, so there could be issues with the Elliott horses for that. Ben Merritt, like Tritonic, he felt was a brilliant winner of the Adonis last time out. Tony McCoy, Zanna here, who won at the Ferry House over Christmas, but again there's an issue about being Gordon Elliott trained. Paul Nicholls feels that Tritonic is similar to his Triumph Hurdle winner Zarkanda, and so he's keen on that horse. Paul Webber, like French Asile at about 7-1, and Zanna here as well, he was keen on that one. For Albert Bartlett Hurdle, Ben Merritt was keen on Fakira, the Gordon Elliott horse. Paul Nicholls says both his run. Barbados Bucks, he says, keeps improving and is his strongest fancy of his two, but 3 under through 5, there could be a lot more to come from him. Paul Webber likes the Tom and Lacey trained horse Admiral, and Tony McCoy for the Fergal O'Brien trained Haydock winner Alaphilippe. I wonder if he's named after a cyclist actually, Julian Alaphilippe. I think it's spelled the same way. He likes him. And Willie Mullins Nangola was a possibility, but had been disappointing last time out. The Gold Cup, Francesca Kumani saying that Santini now looks a little slow at the minute. She likes Champ and feels last year's Gold Cup form is a little suspect. Tony McCoy is impressed with Champ last time out, and of course Champ famously is named after him. And he felt to be hard again to win Faber Voto, as he felt last year's form was dubious, and his possibility there for A Plutard. Paul Nicholls was, perhaps unsurprisingly, giving a good write-up here for Frodon, with Cheltenham record 6 wins and a King George winner. And he claimed as Zobo his horse hasn't not declared, but he's interesting. He said he might be a possibility for next year's Grand National to look forward to for next year. Paul Webber likes Abum Photo, and his brother-in-law apparently drives William Mullins everywhere, and Mullins, he said, was most pleased of his horses, and most pleased with Abum Photo and Concertista. Ben Merritt liked Aplutard for this, having won at the festival, and he stayed on into third place in Ryanair Chase last year. Paul Webber about War Pagilelli, so try and pronounce the horse. He said there's 2 options of a horse. If it's good ground, he won in 3 mile 6 National Challenge Cup rather, and soft ground it would be the Gold Cup. With Fox Hunters, Paul Nicholls saying with David Maxwell's horse Bob and Co. He won last time out, and obviously he's so fortunate because David Maxwell bought the horse hoping to ride him. I know David Maxwell rather defines opinion as a rider, but he obviously has to be professionally ridden this year. And he mentions his horse Chameron, which he's a part owner of, and so actually saying Harry Coplin actually rides that horse, not a Bob and Co. For Martin Pipe Hurdle, Ben Merritt likes wide receiver Gordon Elliott trained horse. So for the dark horses for the meeting, Tony McCoy liked Craig Niche, and he also mentioned Ramillies. I think that's pronounce it Ramillies for the bumper. Ben Merritt liked Mr. Whittaker for the play, so he finished second last year. Paul Webber, Ibelo, Veronica Williams, possibility for the Grand Annual, that's out on IBLEO. And Paul Nicholls likes Dormer Weisling for the Attempts. In terms of naps, LMA for Mayor's Chase, right about it's a new race, of course, for Tony McCoy and Ben Marriott, and Ben Marriott also liked Applutard. Paul Webber wanted to hook up for the Mare's Novice Hurdle, that's a Dawn Run hurdle, and Paul Nicholls went for Goshen for the Champion Hurdle.